If your phone rings and your first instinct is panic, not who's calling, but why are they calling, what's wrong, this video is for you. If you'd rather type out a 3-paragraph explanation than say it out loud in 30 seconds. If you've let calls go to voicemail just to text back, "Sorry, missed this, what's up?" You're not rude, you're not antisocial. There's something deeper going on, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what it is. First, let's get one thing straight. Preferring text over calls isn't a character flaw. It's not laziness, and it doesn't mean you don't care about the people in your life. In fact, often it's the opposite. People who avoid calls are frequently the ones who care the most about getting their words right. But there's usually a reason this preference runs so deep, and for a lot of people, it traces back further than they realize. At its root, texting gives you something a phone call never can: control. You're texting. You control the pace. You control the wording. You can pause mid-sentence, delete something that sounds wrong, rewrite it 3 times until it sounds calm and put together, even if inside you're anything but calm. A phone call strips all of that away. There's no edit button, no pause to think. Whatever comes out of your mouth in that split second, that's what the other person hears. For someone who spent years being careful with their words, that loss of control can feel less like a conversation and more like exposure. For many people, this pattern starts early, often in households where emotions had to be managed carefully. Maybe you grew up in a home where tone mattered more than words, where the way something was said could change the entire mood of the house, where you learned to read a room before you spoke in it, adjusting your voice, your wording, your timing, just to keep things calm. In an environment like that, a child doesn't just learn to communicate, they learn to perform communication, carefully, strategically, with an eye always on how it might be received. And here's the thing about that kind of hyper-awareness. It doesn't go away when you grow up. It just changes form. As an adult, that same instinct to get it right before speaking shows up as a preference for written words, words you can shape, soften, and control before anyone else hears them. The fear of dead air. There's another piece to this, and it's something almost everyone who prefers texting can relate to: the silence. In a phone call, silence is loud. Even a 2-second pause can feel like it's screaming something: awkwardness, disagreement, disappointment. People who are sensitive to social cues often feel that silence in their chest before their brain even processes what it means. Texting removes that pressure entirely. A pause between messages means nothing. You could take 5 minutes to respond and no one assumes anything is wrong. But on a call, that same 5 minutes of silence would feel like a crisis. For people who grew up monitoring emotional shifts in others, sensing tension before it was spoken, that dead air on a call can subconsciously trigger the same alertness they felt as kids, not because anything is actually wrong, but because their nervous system learned, a long time ago, that silence often came right before something did go wrong. The "what if they can hear it in my voice" fear. There's also a more personal layer to this, the fear of being too transparent. Voices carry things words don't: tiredness, sadness, irritation you're trying to hide. Someone might ask, "How are you?" And even if you say, "I'm fine," your voice might say something else entirely, and you know it. Texting lets you say, "I'm fine," happy face, and mean it on the surface, without anyone hearing the exhaustion underneath. For people who've learned, sometimes the hard way, that showing vulnerability led to being dismissed, judged, or having to explain themselves further, that's not a small thing. That's a layer of protection. Why phone calls feel like too much. This is also why an unexpected phone call can feel almost intrusive, even from someone you love. A text waits for you. A call demands you, right now, whether you're ready or not. For someone whose sense of safety has always depended on having a moment to prepare, to compose themselves, to think before they respond, an unannounced call can feel like being caught off guard in a way that's hard to explain to someone who's never felt it. It's not that you don't want to talk to that person. It's that you want to talk to them on your terms, terms where you get to show up as the version of yourself you're comfortable being seen as.
The flip side, when texting becomes avoidance. Now, here's the part that's worth sitting with for a second. While texting can be a healthy form of communication, for some people it can also become something else, a way to avoid connection altogether. If every hard conversation gets pushed into text form, if conflict, feelings, or important topics only ever get discussed through a screen, it might not just be about comfort anymore. It might be about distance, a way to stay close to people without ever really letting them get close to you. There's a difference between "I express myself better in writing" and "I can't handle being fully present with someone, even for 5 minutes." So what do you do with all this? First, don't force yourself to suddenly become a phone person. That's not the goal, and it's not realistic. Your preference for texting isn't broken. It's a coping mechanism that, at some point, kept you safe. But it might be worth gently noticing. Are there relationships where a 2-minute call would actually bring you closer? Not because texting is wrong, but because hearing someone's voice in real time, with no edits, no filters, is its own kind of intimacy. You don't have to overhaul how you communicate, but every once in a while, letting someone hear you, unfiltered, unedited, exactly as you are,
In that moment, might be less scary than it sounds, and it might be exactly the kind of connection you've been protecting yourself from for longer than you realized.